Akadosh Boker Or, Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Yomi Daf Kafhe Amud Aleph 25a1. If you remember yesterday, we finished off by mentioning that says Rabbi Yoshua ben Lewi, Kol Makom Shamar Rabbi Yehuda, anytime that Rabbi Yehuda is going to come and he's going to say Ematai or Bamed Varim Murim, he's only coming to explain the words of Chachamim. But Rabbi Yochanan argues and he says, no, Ematai comes to explain the words of Chachamim. Bamed Varim Murim is coming lachlok al divrei Chachamim. Udechuli alma. However, though, according to everybody, whenever it says Ematai, it's coming lefareshu. It's coming to explain the words of Chachamim. So says the Gemara, Gavra Karamit. Are you going to come and you're going to ask from your Yoshua ben Levi to Rami bar Chama? More Savar, Rami bar Chama, he's the one that holds that when Rabbi Yehuda says Ematai, there's a machloket between him and Chachamim. And therefore, Rami bar Chama is coming and saying that according to Chachamim on our Mishnah, HaMesachek Bekuvia is going to be pasul because of an Asmachta. Umor Savar lo pligi, and the other one holds that there's no machloket, right? Which means Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi holds that there's no machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim, but rather Rabbi Yehuda is explaining the Chachamim. So according to him, even the Chachamim hold HaMesachek Bekuvia is going to be pasul because he's not going to be osek b'yeshuvo shel olam. Okay, but if he does have another umanut, let's say he has another métier, yeah, he's got another profession, so then there's not going to be a problem, right, whatsoever. Fine. Velo plige, says the Gemara, but really, be'emet, there's no machloket. What does it mean now? Move around. Right? He says, what does it mean now, right, that there's no machloket? That Tanya we learned, ben sheyesh lo emunut shelohu, ben shelo emunutu, right? He says, it's pasul, it's going to be pasul. So it comes out that it's mefurash in the Braita, that really be'emet, Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda are cholkim. That means it doesn't matter whether be'emet he's got another profession or not. I don't care if he has another profession. It still makes him pasul. So answers the Gemara, Hahi Rabbi Yehuda mishum Rabbi Tarfon. This Braita is going according to Rabbi Tarfon, which means that he says that the psul of Masechet Bekuvia is an asmachta, just like we said before. But Chachamim of our Mishnah hold that the psul is because he's not osek b'yeshuvo shel olam, which means he's not doing anything productive for the world. So it's mashma that it's going to be okay. The Tanyas we learned in the Braita. Rabbi Yehuda omer mishum Rabbi Tarfon, says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Tarfon. Leolam en echad mehen nazir, right? Lefi shelo nitna nezirut ela leaflaa. Imagine right now you have two people that are sitting down, and one of them comes in front and he says, Hareni nazir imploni over lefanenu nazir. So imagine we're two people sitting down, and all of a sudden we see somebody passing by. He says, you know what? I'm going to be a nazir if he's a nazir. Yeah? And he says, right? And his friend says, Hareni nazir imploni over lefanenu enu nazir. Now the friend says the exact opposite. So one more time. Two people sitting down. A guy walking by. I'm person number A. I say, Hareni nazir, I'm going to be a nazir if the person walking by is a nazir. The guy beside me comes and he says, I'm going to be a nazir if the person in front of us is not a nazir. So he's obviously one of them have to become a nazir, right? One of these two people. Right? Says Rabbi Yehuda omer mishum Rabbi Tarfon, leolam enecha mehem, nobody's a nazir. Says why? Lefi shelo nitna nezirut ela la'afla'ah. He says nezirut has to be vadai, not in a safek. Meaning, the fact that I don't know be'emet if the guy that's passing in front of us is a nazir or not a nazir, that cannot make me into a nazir. Because a nazir has to be a nazir vadai, not a nazir safek. And each one is going to be a safek if he actually made the neder or not. So therefore, since it says that it has to be 100% a nazir, so therefore that's it. So he comes and he says now, right, like this. Yeah, he comes and he says now like this. Malve beribit. We're talking about now malve beribit. Okay, so okay, okay, fine. They're learning it from a pasuk. Yafli lindor. Okay. Now we went and we brought down the next one. So by the way, right, doctor, you would have to actually check up what's in the Shulchan Aruch. How are they paskening? Do they actually hold, right, that be'emet, it's if what happens if he has another profession, right? Because until here you saw the different machlokot, that it's not that simple, right, that you're going to come and you're going to say, right, that if he's got another profession or doesn't have another profession. Okay, you have to actually check what is halacha lemaaseh. Here brings down its two Shulchan Aruch, Seif Yod. So if you want, you could check up Siman Lamed Daled Seif Yod. Okay, fine. Malve beribit. We're talking about now the psul of lending with interest. Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, Lava beribit pasul leedut. If somebody is going to blend out with ribit, he's going to be pasul for edut. So he's mamash disqualified for being an ed. So ask the Gemara, Vehanan tnan malve beribit he says, right, it's mashma that the psul is the one that the mashma that the malveh beribit, but not shelava beribit. There's a difference between lava beribit and malveh beribit. Lava means you borrowed and you have to pay back with ribit. Malveh beribit is the one that's lending out beribit. You understand? So he says malveh ba'a beribit. We're talking about a milveh which is coming through beribit. So it's either or, either malveh or the loveh. Any type of alva'ah that has to do with rebit is going to be disqualified for being a witness. Bar bin Tosos asidu be tresade. So there were two witnesses that came and they testified about Bar bin Tos, right? Chadama, one of them says, Kamedi Yosif beribita, that in front of me he borrowed beribit. Vechadama, one of them says, Ledidi Osfi beribita, right? That he ilva beribit, he lent out beribit. So Pasle Rav Bar bin Tos, he came and he said, he's patzul. Okay, now did you realize there were two witnesses, but the two witnesses said two different things. One of them was on the halva'a, meaning the malveh, that he was a malveh of ribit. Another one was he was a loveh of ribit, but he still disqualified him. So ask the Gemara, Behar Rava hu damal lava beribit pasul edut. He says Rava is the one that says that if you're going to borrow beribit, you're going to be pasul. V'havale rasha, he's going to be a rasha. V'Torah amra, and the Torah says al tashet rasha ed. So if so, how does he come and he accepts the testimony of the Ed Sheni to be posel, right? The what's it called? The Bar bin Tos. How could that be? So Rava letame, he says no. Really, be'emet, Rava goes according to his reasoning. Rava says Adam karov etzel atzmo, which means a person is a family member to himself. He's a karov to himself, and therefore, just like a person cannot come and testify about his family member, whether it's for the zechut or for the chova, whether for good or for bad, so too he cannot testify about himself, whether it's for the zechut or for chovah. And a person cannot be posel himself to make himself into a rasha. So therefore, the second witness is not going to be ne'eman, right, to be posel et atzmo. So he's still an ed kasher. So it comes out that he's going to be posel bar ba'intus. Because remember, what was the case? The first one was kamedi dio ziv peribita. In front of me, right, he lent with rebit. The second witness came in, he said, ledidi osfi beribita. He lent me money with rebit. So now, one of them was on borrowing and one was lending. But when he's saying that he lent me with rebit, one second. That means you borrow rebit. Now, if you borrow rebit, you're going to be pasul for a dude. So if you're going to be pasul for a dude, how do I accept the testimony? So he says, no. He's going to accept the testimony, but since a person does not make himself into a rasha, he's not believed biyachas latzmo. Meaning for himself, he's not going to be believed. And since he's not going to be believed for himself, he's still kosher to be testifying on this bar bin tos. Okay? Fine. So it was a tabach, but there were terefot found underneath him. What does that mean? It happened, right? We had it in Muncie, we had it in other places, that the guy was coming and he was selling terefot. So imagine, you have a butcher and he's selling terefot to the people. So Pastor Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman comes and he says, Pasul edut. Why? He's being over on Lifnei Iver and looked at Mishol because of money. So therefore he's a Rasha of Hamas, which is going to be Pasul for edut, which means that since he's got such a strong desire for money, obviously that means somebody could pay him very easily and he's going to testify falsely. If he's already giving Trefot, right, it was again be Sur, so obviously the same thing. Veibre. So they took him off. He wasn't allowed to be anymore Tabah. Azal, right? And then what happened? Azal Rav Mazie, Rabbi Mazie v'Tufare. He comes and he started growing, right, his hair and his nails, right, kilu, to show that he's doing teshuvah. So he comes and he starts growing his nails, his hair. Savar Rav Nachman la'achshure. So Rav Nachman comes and he says, you know what? Listen, the guy, he wants to do teshuvah. He's he's trying to do. Amarle Rava says, Dilma rume kamarim. He says, maybe he's only playing. He's a good actor. Maybe he's only playing a trick. Maybe he's only coming and doing these things ki'ilu to show that he's doing teshuvah, and then he's going to do the same thing again. So Elamai tekante. So says the Gemara, okay, no. So how does he do teshuvah according to you then? So he says, Kedravidi baravin, like Ravidi baravin. The Amar Ravidi baravin says Ravidi baravin, hachashud ala terefot en lo takana ad sheilech lemakom shen makirin oto. Right, the one that's going to be chashud on terefot, he's not going to be. There's no takana, there's no remedy for him unless he's going to go to a place where for sure, right, that nobody knows him. V'yachzir aveda bedavar chashuv. He has to do hashavat aveda on something which is very important. Now, why? Because technically speaking, he could justify it. Listen, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. I found this. Come on, we're not talking about stam that he's giving something important of a extreme value. So therefore, since nobody knows him, and still he comes and he's doing hachsarat aveda, right? So therefore, obviously the teshuvah, or shiotzi trefa mitachat yado b'davar chashuv mishelo, or he's going to throw out the basar trefa of his own. And therefore, what happens is that he's again, we could prohibit him to be a butcher, to be a tabach, to be a shochet for everybody else, but for himself, he can do whatever he wants, right? I can't tell him that you can't do shechita to your own animal, right? So what happens? He went and he did it, and all of a sudden, it was a very expensive animal, and it became a terefa, and he threw it out. Now we're walking by, we see a full animal out. Hey, what's going on here? No, it was a terefa, and he threw it out. So the fact that for his own animal, he went and he threw it out, even though it was a davar chashuv, it was very, very expensive. So that's a proof that he came and he did teshuvah. Okay, fine. Next case, mafrichei yonim. So now we're talking about somebody that's coming and there's mafrichei yonim. What is mafrichei yonim? My mafrichei yonim. Hachatil guma. Here they translated it as itakdeme yonach lion. If your yonah is going to meet my yonah. So Rami Chama bar Oshriya amar le'ara. What does that mean? We're talking about that you're being megadela yonah, meaning that you're training it, right? In order to come to go from one place to another place. So therefore, right, it's gezel. Why? Because basically, right, what you're doing is you're taking from other places and you're doing it against their will. So it's kilu that you're stealing. Okay. So it's bringing all the yonim from other places, and then kilu they're trapping. Okay, fine. So now he comes and he says as follows. So Manda Amar, according to the Manda Amar that says he takte miyonach lion, my tamalo amar ara. Why didn't he say the concept of the ara? So Amalecha, he says ara is because of the Shalom be'alma. Because at the end of the day, right, they didn't actually were zoche bahen. So therefore, since right now you took it, it's only an isur from Chachamim that they didn't want you to do it, but it's not mamash gezel. But according to the Manda Amar that it's ara, my tamalo amar. Why didn't he say right? Itaktemach yonah lion. So Amalecha is going to tell you, that's the exact same thing, meaning there's no difference between we're going to play with cards, and then we're going to come and we're going to, whoever wins is going to win the money, or we're going to play with yonim, and whoever's going to win is going to win, that if my yonah is faster than your yonah, right, or my car is faster than your car, okay, nowadays cars means that you're driving it, but meaning that, for example, my horse is faster than your horse, right? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so therefore he comes and he says that is Masechet Pekulia, and since it's going to be Masechet Pekulia, that's why he didn't. That means basically we have two different shitot. What is Mafrichei yonim? And each shita did not learn the other shita. The idach, but the other one, he says Tana toleda bedat atzmo, veTana tole bedat yonah, right? Utzricha. What does that mean? Did you realize there's two different things, right? The Masechet Pekulia, you're the one that's playing. And therefore, it's bedat atzmo. The yonah is not dat atzmecha. It depends if your yonah is going to be quick today or not. It's nothing to do with you. It has to do with your yonah. So it's not the same thing. Tole bedat atzmo, tole bedat yonah, and you still need both cases. The itana tole bedat atzmo, right? Which one? It's two different dinim. One of them is you, and one of them is your animal.
One permitted and one not.
No. It's not permitted. They're both the exact same case, but just it's two different ones. And the one of them is to do with me, with a human being, and one is an animal. Utzricha, and I still need it. But if you only taught tolebedat atzmo, there I would say maybe the lo gamul makne. He's not gamul makne. Why? Because I didn't really. Meaning I've got such a good confidence in myself. For sure, I'm not gonna give it to him. Meaning, when I'm putting the money on the table, I don't really want to give it to him. Why? Because I'm a good player. I know how to play. I know how to bluff. I know how to do everything. I'm not gonna do it. But he says, "Kimli b'naf shaydi." I know very, very well. But tolebedat yonah. But if it's gonna be on his yonah, I would say that really maybe he does give it 100%. Why? Because it's luck. Maybe today my yonah is very quick, and tomorrow he had a bad day, and he woke up and he didn't have enough cereal with milk, and now he's going slower. Right? So it's nothing to do with me. And if it's going to teach a tole bedad yonah, only the case of the yonah, the amar that he could say benakshat al yaminta. He could say it has to do with hitting the two etzim together. Because basically what happens is that the way that they do it is they start hitting pieces of wood together. And then what happens is it makes them come and it makes them go quicker. So they start flying quicker. It's basically the same thing that you're making some noise, right? And so he comes in and thinks, listen, the more noise that I make, the quicker my yonah is going to fly. Now I know I'm much quicker. Nobody knows how to do it as quickly as I do. But if he's doing it with himself, Elmaleh, maybe I'm going to say, listen, you know what? Sometimes sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So maybe Bemet he's going to give it. So tzricha, that's why we said that you're going to, that's why we had to teach two different cases, even though b'diuk is oto davar, meaning that the Masechet Bekuvya and the Yonach Lioni technically is the same thing. But says the Gemara, it's not the same thing. Why? One of them toleh b'dat tzmecha, toleh b'dat acharim, which means toleh b'dat Yonah. And therefore, each one, according to his reasoning, do you say that it's going to be better or it's going to be worse? Meidve, we're going to ask the following question. Hamsachek bekuvia. He says, Elu hen hamsachakim bepispasim. They're playing with pieces of wood. Velo bepispas bilvad, not only just pieces of wood. El afilu klifei gozim uklifei ribonim. Right nowadays, you've got cards, you've got this. In the olden days, we're talking about even mamash klipot of egozim and rimonim and all these things. Ve'ematai chazaratan. So he comes and he says, and when are you going to come and bring them back to become kosher? I mean, let's say these guys come and this is their profession, or even if it's not their profession, and we just said that according to the shita, it's not their profession, it's still going to be a sud. So when do we say that you're going to be chozer b'tshuva? When they break the kubiyot, or and then they come and they retract 100%. Okay, fine. Now he comes and he says like this: Da'afilu bechinam lo avde, that they're not going to do they're not going to play even bechinam. Meaning, some people will afterwards say, you know what, okay, fine, they're going to do teshuvah, but right now we're not going to play for money. But let's play for fun. So he says, no, afilu bechinam lo avde. That's when they do chazara gemura. Meaning, if you're going to ask me, when is it considered chazara b'teshuvah on a person that was a gambler? You know what the answer is? He doesn't even play for free.
So they cannot play card games with the family.
That's what we just said. The afilu bechinam lo avde. So the Braita continues and says, Malveh beribit, right? Malveh beribit, right? By the way, you should know it's very, very bad, right? He says like this, Malveh beribit. No, that's not klafim, right?
The cards, where are
It's
the memory game, the memory.
Malveh beribit. We're talking about now Malveh beribit. Echad malveh ve'echad aloveh. Whether we're talking about the malveh and the loveh. I'm continuing. Ve'ematai chazaratan. So when be'emet is going to be the chazara b'tshuva of the people that are lending berivit, mishikaru shitrein. They have to come and tear up their stars. Yachziru ben chazara gemura. They're going to completely do chazara gemura. Right? So he comes and he said, afilu lenochli lo masvi. So he says, even for a goy, right? Which means that they're not going to be malvim or beat even to a goy. Now, technically speaking, you're allowed to. But when a person wants to do mamash teshuvah shlema, he wants to show that the rebit is so far away from him. Right? This is, by the way, this is the Rambam. The Rambam always says that whenever you want to change a midah, what do you have to do? You have to go to the other extreme. So, for example, let's say a person always gets angry all the time. So what does he have to do? The other extreme, that he doesn't get angry for nothing, even when he's supposed to. And then what? And then he could go back to the middle, to the Shvila Zahav, to the golden path. In a sense, so the same thing. He has to mamash go to the other extreme. And then, that's called Chazara B'Tshuva. The Gemara continues, Elu shemamnin et yonim. These are the ones that they're doing, they get them upset. Right? And then they come and they try to get them to fight. Not only yonim bilvad, even the animals. So imagine right now you're getting the animals upset at each other in order to come and fight with each other. So, the bullfighting with each other, or all these things with each other. So when is the chazaratan? They're going to come, they're going to break the pieces of wood, that it comes and it makes them go quicker. And again, they have to do chazara gemura. Da'afilu b'midbar nami. Because even in the midbar, where there's not going to be yonim that they have owners, lo avde, he's not going to do it. Meaning, he goes to the desert. There's no owners. He's not stealing from anybody. So what's the problem if he's doing that? No, still is going to be asur. Again, why? Because he's purposely doing it in such a fashion that for sure there's not going to be a problem. Okay? Fine. So Charei Shvi'it, the ones that are doing business with Shvi'it. Elu shenosim v'notnim beperot Shvi'it. These are the people that are doing business with perot Shvi'it. Ve'matai chazaratan. So when are they going to do teshuvah? When is it considered that they did teshuvah? That they're going to be kosher to become edim? Yishitagia Shvi'it acher v'yibadlu. The next Shvi'it. Test them next Shvi'it. But it's going to be 7 years. Yeah? 7 years they have to wait. The next Shavit, we're going to test him. Did he do it or not? Meaning, some people could say, no, but Rabbi, misken, he did teshuvah. Let's come and test him. So sometimes it could take 7 years because we have to wait until the next time. Let's see now. And not just take his word that he was chozer b'teshuvah. Amar Rabbi Nechemiah, says Rabbi Nechemiah, lo chazer advarim bilvad amru. Not only just chazer advarim, right? You see, it's not only just chazer advarim. Ela chazarat mamon. You also have to come and put your money to where your mouth is. A lot of people there are bedvarim. There's a lot of, you have to put your money to where your mouth is. A lot of people there, but once it comes to the real stuff, the money, all of a sudden, no. Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, so he says, Ketzat, Ani ploni bar ploni, kinasti 200 zuz pepirot shveit, varen nutunim matana lanim. Meaning, not only does it have to be that he's not going to do it next time. You know what he has to do? You're going to ask him, how much money did you make last time in Shavit year? So he comes and he says 200 zuz. Now 200 zuz, right, is mamash, is a year's salary. So imagine, whatever it is. Let's say nowadays it's right in America, it's let's say minimum salary is let's say around 50,000 a year or whatever it is. So let's say, so that's $50,000 a year. He has to say, Ani ploni ben ploni, I came and I gathered $50,000 because of perot shvit. Tzedakah fund. Boom. Here it is. Doesn't matter. He has to give it. So says the Gemara, Tani miha behema. Right? We did learn, however, though, what about now an animal? What happens now with an animal? So he comes and he says, right, as follows. I understand according to the mandamar, itak de yonach lion. Right? If you're going to be magdim the yonah, meaning your yonah to my yonah, so I'm going to pay you. So that's going to be the animal. But according to the damar vara, which is basically again that you're going to be teaching a yonah, which is like a professional yonah, and he's going to go to other places, and he's going to bring me more yonim. Right? What, can you do that to an animal? You could do that to a yonah. You can't do that. Well, I'm going to go to a cow, and I'm going to train the cow. The cow's going to go. And it's going to walk around a whole bunch of different places, and then it's going to be calling all the other parot to come with it. You can't do that with a behemah. You could do that with a yonah, but not with a behemah. The answer is the Gemara, yes, you could. With a shorabar. Right? And according to Mandamar, the shorabar is considered a behemah and not a chaya. Shorabar is a wild shor. Right? But still, he wants to say that it's considered a domesticated animal, not a wild animal. The Tanan, shorabar mean behemahu. Right? Rabbi Yosef Omer mean chaya. Yeah? Mean chaya. Fine. Tana, we learned in the Braita. Hosifu alehen, they added on to them hagazlanin ve'hamsanin. Gazlanin and chamsanin. What does that mean? A chamsan is somebody that takes it against his will, but he still pays. Yeah, I like your phone. Yeah, I'm gonna give you $200. No. I'm giving.
Take 200.
I take 200. Boom, I take it. I paid him. Somebody's gonna. I paid him, but that's a chamsan. Why? He didn't want to sell it. But I forced him to sell it. So even though I'm giving him the money, what? Even with or without, doesn't matter. Right? He says the fact that I came and I forced him to take it away, that's still going to be considered a hamsan. Okay? So now he comes and he says as follows. Gazlan midoraitahu, says the Gemara, 1 second. The Braita also said a gazlani, the hamsanim. Says 1 second, gazlan is doraita. What's the talking about? Sorry. So he said, Lo nitzicha, what are we dealing with? Ela mitziat cheresh shotev katan. No, we're talking about that there was somebody that was a cheresh shotev katan that they found something, and they weren't zoche min Torah, and it's only a sul because of darkei shalom. And then what did you do? You went and you took it away from them. Because remember, cheresh shotev katan, there's no real acquisition. So imagine right now a katan finds $100 on the floor, and he picks it up, and I come, boom, and I take it away from him. So now I'm not a gazlan doraita. You know why I'm not a gazlan doraita? He's a katan. A katan does not acquire. So therefore, midoraita, he never acquired that $100. But I'm the Rabbanan considered a gazan because of the darkei shalom. Because imagine right now he's going to start crying, goes to his father, the father comes to me, I said, listen, I'm sorry, but there's no acquisition, finders keepers, or whatever. So it's darkei shalom. You need peace. So therefore, it's only the Rabbanan, but it's not doraita. So therefore, that's the case. Me, karasavur at the beginning, he thought it wasn't common. And that's why we didn't actually bring it down. Inami, because of the Shalom Be'alma. But since they saw the sof mamonu the kashaki that he is taking at the end of the money, and it's chemdat mamon. Remember, what's the entire concept of sul for edut? I'm going to suspect that just like he loves money so much, I'm going to suspect that he's going to accept money as a bribe, and he's going to testify falsely. So anytime that I'm going to see that he's having too much of a chemdat mamon to do any sur, So therefore, that's it. It's only an Isud Rabbanan, and it's only a... No. But this is already showing too much. So the fact that he's showing too much, I'm going to Pasul Rabbanan. The rabbi is giving, he said that he's going to be Pasul. HaChamsanin mi'ikara savur demei kayayin. The Chamsanin at the beginning, they thought, listen, at the end of the day, he's giving the money. So if he's giving the money, what's the problem? Akrai be'almahu. Stam, it's Akrai. So he says, Kevin the Chazub, but once they saw the Kachatki, but they grab it away from the guy, Kazura Banan, they said, no, that's it. Okay? Fine. Next case. Okay? Or 16.666, whichever one it is. Check it up. Do the divided by...
Do the
divided by
GPT.
thing. Okay, Tana. We also learned, Osifu alehen arroim. Shepherds. Yeah? A gabain. Yeah? The gabain. Right? So he says these are the tax collectors. Bamuchsin or govea meches also. So now the gabain are the ones which are going to be in charge of the meches mitzad Yisraelim. Okay? And the govea meches, okay, there's a whole thing here about exactly what's the difference. Whether it's that, you're paying from your pocket and then he has to come and, whatever he gets, it gets from himself. Or is it that, okay, look in the footnote. There's a difference in Bet Yosef. What is the difference between them? But basically, it's tax collectors. So says the Gemara, Roim, the shepherds, we thought it was cry bebama. Maybe he could be just cry. He didn't have really kavanah for that. But Kevin the Chazu, but since we saw the that they come and they put their animals the in places and they're eating from other people's fields. So the rabbis came and said, no, that's it. He said, listen, I'm only taking something which is katsuv, something which is fixed, and then you're not going to make it pasul. But once we saw that they're taking extra, that's when they're going to come and they're going to make them pasul. Like why? Because some they don't need it anymore. But again, they keep on taking more and more. So Amar Rava comes and he says, Ro'eh she'amru, right? A ro'eh that he comes and they say the following, right? He says, it doesn't matter whether it's be'madaka or be'magasa. Remember, be'madaka is the small animals, be'magasa is the big animals. So Umi Amar Rava, does Rava actually say that? Rava says, Ro'eh be'madaka be'eretz Yisrael psulim mechutz haaretz. Right? He says, right, when you're going to come and you're going to have a ro'eh be'madaka be'eretz Yisrael, it's going to be psulim ledut, but in chutz haaretz it's going to be kasher, meaning the Chachamim were much more machmirim in Eretz Yisrael, because that they didn't want the problems of the Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, that people are going to ruin the Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. But if it's going to be chutz haaretz, it's going to be kosher. Ro'eh be'magasa afilu be'eretz Yisrael. And if it's going to be ro'eh be'magasa, so then it's going to be kosher even in Eretz Yisrael. So you see that there is a difference between, right, which animals you have even in Eretz Yisrael. So he says, no, there it's been magadlim itman. There we're talking about magadlim be'evo be'betam. They're growing them in their houses. And that's why he says, Am gadel be'madaka be'veto be'eretz Yisrael, it's going to be pasul. Hachinam misabra, it's also logical to say that as we said, ne'emanim alai shlosha ro'eh bakar, that it's going to be believed the 3 ro'eh bakar. My love, we're not talking about now ledut, so we're talking about ledut. So says no, we're talking about ledina. It means we're talking about for din, which means that they accepted them as dayanim. Because there, everybody is going to be model that they're going to be pasul because they're not bekiim bedin. You remember we spoke about shosha ro'eh bakar, that they're going to be dayanim. Shosha ro'eh bakar means I'm taking 3 people, they don't know anything, and they're going to become dayanim. No, that you're not allowed to do it. That's also what we learned. Shosha ro'eh bakar, the edut, and if we're talking about edut, shosha lamali, why do we need 3? Pelabai ledina. So what do we need now ledina? My idia shosha ro'eh bakar. He says kol betlata de lo gam ledina nami. He says anytime that you're going to have 3 edutot, which are not going to be bekiim. And also hachi kama. This is what it means to say. Afilu hani de lo shchiche v'yishuv. Even if it's going to be these ones which are not going to be found in the yishuv, it's still going to be right the same halacha, which means that they didn't see right it happening. Still, if they accepted them upon themselves, like dayanim, we're not going to accept it. So Amar Rav Yehuda says stam roeh is pasul. Any roeh stam is already going to be pasul for edut. Stam gabai is kasher though. That means, what about the stam? Meaning, if I have witnesses against him, then for sure. What was a stam? I found a shepherd. What's your profession? Shepherd. So he says pasul automatically. If he's going to be a gabai, he's going to be kasher. Okay? So Avu Ad Rabbi Zera Avad Gabayuta Tleisa Shanim. Do you know that he was a gabai for 13 years? Ki hava ateresh nara lemata, when the person used to come, the Saraid, ki avechazi rabbanam, when he used to see the rabbis, right? Amalu used to said, Lech ami bo b'chadarecha. Hide yourselves, in order that you shouldn't see that there's too many people in the city, and then he's going to ask for more money. Meaning, when he used to come and used to see that the ruler is coming, right? So you have the uchlusiyah, how do you say, the population, right? They used to do accounts, right? The census, so they used to come in the census. No, how many people are in the city? He used to tell the rabbis, go hide yourselves. Because if you guys are going to show yourselves, there's going to be more people, more taxes, and then I have to charge you. So go hide yourselves. Ki hava chazein shedemata. When you used to see the people of the city which are not Talmidei Chachamim, Amar reshna rata lemata va'ina nachis abba lefum bera ubra lefum abba. So he says, and now he's going to be shochet, the father in front of the son and the son in front of the father, which means he's going to come and he's going to start collecting money. Meaning to the Talmidei Chachamim, he used to tell them, go hide yourselves, so nothing's going to happen. But to the other ones, he used to come and he used to tell them. So therefore you see that obviously this guy was actually a kosher gabai. Umiganzu kule alma, right? And now it's going to be, they used to, everyone would be hiding. So Kiata, when he used to come, he says, Mimani ve, who am I going to collect? So when he used to come to the time to be niftar min haolam, Amalu, he says, Shkulu tleisar ma'ed, etzayle lebisidure, v'haru leplanya. Go take 13 coins and give it to this person. Because I took it and I didn't need it. Meaning he took extra taxes and he didn't need it. So he went and he said when he was going to pass away, by the way, I didn't use it at the end. So give it back to him. So this obviously shows what type of a person he was. And that's why he was actually a Ben Adam Kasher.